No. I just told you freaking shit, right? I said when I give you a cigarette, go ask the name of damn question. I'm about to get to start a program. I just told you this right now, right? The first thing that comes out of your mouth, can I get a comment? Okay, wait on the system. Get your ass out of there. Get your ass out of here. Piece of shit. I just told you this nonsense.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 18th edition of the International.
Yeah.
My name is Dr. Victoria, and today I will be your host. And today, joining us as our guest speaker is Professor Masangi Kipangbala Singh with us about the do's and don'ts of mentorship. So, welcome, Professor.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning, good evening, all over the world. So, let's get into our topic for today. So maybe we just start with the easy question. What is mentorship? What is it? Yeah, all of it.
Okay, good morning to the peace-loving people of the world, and good morning to you, Doug, and your strong team from the International Christian Fellowship, Medical Fellowship. As we begin this conversation, I'd like to just look at what mentorship is. Mentorship is an act, it's a process that helps and or that guides another person to support their personal development. Remember the word personal because we'll discuss it further down the line. So, in a short definition, I would just say mentorship is just the process of helping an individual to achieve that personal development.
Okay, fine. Okay, that's interesting. So let's see. So if I have someone mentors me, mentorship, they help me achieve my goals.
Yeah.
Right? In a nutshell. Okay, great. Okay. So what are some of the right kind when you're mentoring or you're coaching someone professionally, if you would like to? Yes.
Let me again back to mentorship coaching. First thing, there's a difference between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Most times,
yes, please.
most times people think your coach is your mentor. No. In most instances, a mentor is not paid. No, he's not paid. Coaches are paid.
Okay.
Mentorship can go on perpetually. And you guys don't have to work in the same environment for somebody to be your mentor and offer you to be a mentee to the individual. Coaches are individuals that have short-term organizational goals. Just walk backwards, ladies and gentlemen. Just walk backwards in your thinking.
Okay.
See the coach for a football team. We call it in America soccer team. A coach for a basketball team. The individual has as his TOR, term of reference, to ensure that everybody who is on his team plays according to a program or design that he sets that will make them to be achieved. I mean, that will make the organization to achieve those kinds of things. Mentorship, on the other side, is about you, the individual mentor, helping another individual mentee achieve their personal goals. The personal goals and the organizational goals could interchange or they could intersect somehow, somewhat. You understand? So people are motivated into mentorship, and I want to concentrate more on that. And the coaching I would drop in once in the, I mean, I would drop in a line here, there, yonder. But people are motivated into mentorship because the experience is invaluable as a mentor. You
That's
cannot
true.
put dollar and cents to it. Um, when you see somebody growing and succeeding as a result of the advice you give them, and mentorship is basically more on the advisement side of the interaction. And, when you see somebody growing as a result of the advice you give them, you feel so highly elated and feel
That's true.
so appreciated. Like one of the guys I follow on the continent, and I've lived out of Africa for the last 24, almost 25 years now, even though I go in and out. But I have never allowed Africa to live out of me, not one day. So one of the guys I listen to a lot has said that you can only be successful if your successor is successful.
That's a nice
So,
one.
so when you are a mentor, what motivates you? What
Mhm.
is right kinds of motivation? You look at the individual growth and development or the process that will lead to another individual growth and development, and you say, "Oh, that makes me so happy. That makes me so capacitated to walk around my village." A
Mhm.
mentor does not have to have a PhD or an MD or a law degree. A mentor can just be somebody of good character, but must be professionally capacitated in their area of mentorship. So, what makes a good mentor?
Mhm.
I would say
Yeah.
a good mentor should take some things into setting. You take some characteristics into mind. A good mentor should have traits that are associated with being a good listener.
That's true. Lots of listeners.
Most times, some of us, especially professionals, we say we're in a mentorship program. We are mentoring group of young, upcoming in your field educators. I mean, or medical doctors. In some field, my field, educators. In other fields, we mentoring good public servant. I mean, public service actors and the rest of it. But that to be a good mentor, the mentor should be a good listener.
Hmm. Okay.
That's the first thing. Because
Okay.
your function as a mentor is to help this individual grow personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once they grow personally, they don't just, it's not a 9 to 5 work association, it's a lifelong association.
Hmm.
So, an individual who grows personally is able to do other things outside of just his work. You're a medical doctor, for instance.
Yeah.
You're a medical doctor, for instance. You're not just a medical doctor all by yourself, Dr. Vic. You, your daughter, you are a niece,
Hmm.
your sister, you when you have your own children, your mom, if you marry your wife. So a good mentor is somebody who can, through your interaction, help you to navigate all of those different functions that you have. We have multiple functions, not just work function, not just career work function, but relationship function. And once the mentorship is good, you can take things from here and then apply it to the other
Yep.
things that are going on. A good mentor should be able to ask good questions. Besides being a good listener, you should be able to ask good questions.
Okay.
And,
So both. Okay.
sometimes you listen to an individual and you're very keen at listening to them. But when your questioning is incriminatory, like
Mm,
you're teaching, you a gynecologist, and then you
mhm.
become a mentor to some younger student who is entering into gynecology, the kinds of questions
Okay.
you ask them can either make them or it can break them.
That is, yeah. Ooh, that's
I
very
have
true.
told people, especially my students, and even those that I provide psychotherapy for, and those who worked for me before in multiple factions, I've told them the
Mm.
stupidest question to ask is the question that is not asked. So, as a
So
mentor,
just
and that relationship between a mentor and a mentee is a hierarchy. Is one person is here, the other person is here. The mentor is anticipated in that particular area of mentorship to know more than the mentee. That doesn't mean that the
mhm,
mentee is not capacitated in other things. Like so, if you don't
that
ask
aspect.
them the right question as a mentor, the mentee in most instances will just shut down and just be there because if, for instance, it's a workplace mentorship program, they have to sign up anyways. Or if it is just a personal
Okay.
mentorship program, the person will just give you 1001 reason why they should not show up. The third one is you have to show empathy. A mentor must show empathy at all times because your function as a mentor is not an organizational achievable goal. It's a personal achievable goal. Your function is to help this individual achieve their personal challenges and personal capacities or upheavals,
Mhm.
challenges and or upheavals to get through to the next stage. So you have to be empathetic to the individual. And I'd like to speak, like, for instance, to the situation in my country, Liberia. If I am a mentor to a Liberian professional or an up and down Liberian professional, and this individual does not have a time to, for instance, come from wherever they are
The
to
meat.
come to the place we're having a mentorship activity. Using Monrovia, those who are from Liberia can talk about it. Wherever you're from on the continent, just think about one place as compared to another place and see how can you engage the individual there. My personal thing will be if the mentee needs to travel maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes or 1 hour, and you guys have a timeline. Now there are smartphones and he calls you or she calls you or they call you, depending on their gender identity. And they raise a point to you, oh, you should be empathetic. Oh, I cannot make it today. Or I will be running 10 minutes. I'll be running 50 minutes. It's not a time for you as a mentor to start berating them. If it's a
Okay.
consistent thing, you can have a very nice conversation with them. And because most times mentorship is not paid for,
Yeah. Oh,
and if
okay.
you know that these things are going on, you need to cut the relationship up. You can cut the relationship off, but the person's integrity should be kept intact. So that's the most significant thing. The fifth one is you should be supportive and you should be encouraging. You should be self-aware. You should have a personable demeanor. Let your mentee be able to approach you, to meet with you. Don't
Mm-hmm.
have this frown on your face. Oh, the mentee is afraid of you. No, kind of attitude. No, let you guys have some relationship. And finally, you should be
With your
able to give them. You should be able to give them constructive. and honest feedback. Most times people think constructive and embellished or not so truthful feedbacks are good. No, the feedbacks have to be constructive. The feedback have to be honest because the intent of the relationship is for the mentee to grow and it's for their personal growth and development. So those are just some of the characteristics. Those are just some of the right kind of motivation that people should go into mentorship for and that people should do.
Okay, thank you for clarifying between mentoring and coaching. So let me summarize. He said what he said. Listener, right?
I'm here.
Ask good questions, right? Be a good
Yeah.
listener, ask questions, be empathetic and encouraging, and a little bit of constructive, honest feedback. Did I summarize it?
The last one is not a little bit more constructive and honest feedback.
More, more of constructive. Okay, so okay, that's interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, so you something about disappointment. So I wanted to know, um, so how can a mentor stay positive or try to avoid any disappointments or manipulations that might come? How do you go about to try to avoid such things if it does happen?
Mentorship, even though it's in most instances not paid for service.
Mm-hmm.
And this is research has shown that in every relationship that you build, in everything you start with, the first couple of conversations that you have, that's the contract building process, right? Or contract building phase. You guys need to sit and lay things down. What is it that you want as the mentor? What is it that the mentee wants? And then in that discussion, human behavior is not smooth sailing.
Yeah.
People can hate you just because of your name for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't like Queen Victoria, so your name is Victoria. Now we transfer that aggression that we had against the name Queen Victoria onto Victoria, you the person. Somebody could hate you because you're from East Africa. Because East African, somebody from East Africa hate them before, so we generally blanket them. Somebody will not like me, even though I'm a messenger, because I come from the United States, because they believe in the Eastern side or Eastern Black political thinking. There are many reasons why people will not like you for, and it's not your person. So one thing I tell individuals in the first place, hey, we are 7.8 billion people on this earth. 7.8 billion people are not meant to be your friends.
That's very true. Not all of them.
So you could have somebody that you used to like before, believe in before, once you sit with them at the beginning of the conversation for potential mentorship. If your likes and dislikes in actuality don't match up, you guys don't continue the relationship. It's a relationship you're starting. Every
Okay.
relationship, people must be respectful of the other person.
Mm-hmm. No matter
Every
what. Yeah.
relationship. I tell parents when I'm doing family therapy. I tell couples when I'm doing couples therapy. I tell individuals when I'm doing individual therapy.
Oh.
I also tell my students when I'm teaching them all the different things I teach that because we are not meant or wired to love everybody, it means that everybody is not wired to love us the same way. Knowing who you can love and who you can respect and who you can keep at arm's length and the rest of it, if you know those things help you from the get-go. So to keep the relationship positive, when you sit down and hold each other accountable as to what the mentor brings to the table and what the mentees bring to the table, and then take those things and actualize them into your relationship process, I think it reduces a lot of disappointment. It reduces a lot of manipulation. Since we speak to a diaspora population and community and audience, there are lots of manipulation, unfortunately, by African mentors. Somebody feels because they are mentoring another individual, they have become Lord and gospel over them. No, you're not. Your function is to help them.
That's true. Yeah.
As they grow into whatever life direction they want to go. Your function is to help them. HELP, not HURT.
I like that
Because
one.
most times instead of helping, we start to hurt. The guy should give you water.
Very true.
So what they, I don't want to speak some French language this morning, but what? And we see this in people who go to apprenticeship and the rest of it. I know it happened in my country. I know it happened in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Ghana. I know how apprenticeship people are treated like trashes. No, they're dignified individuals. They just came to learn this the craft of doing those kinds of things that you do better by working with you. But since we're professionals and we're talking at a professional level, when somebody is going to school to become a gynecologist and Dr. Vic, they came to you to be their mentee, and you guys have developed that relationship, one of the ways to avoid manipulation is to look them in the eye and treat them as a person. Once you start to treat somebody as a person and do a convergence of what if it were me, and you allow that to sink in, you avoid manipulation. And manipulation is the beginning of the destruction of mentorship relationships.
That's true.
You understand? That's why I said
Yeah.
you got to give them honest feedback. You got to be honest in this relationship. No relationship is built anywhere on earth, except it is a dictatorial relationship. But no relationship is built that is not constructive, that is not built on honesty, trust. And as parents, I mean, being a grandparent also,
Okay.
we do not create a condition for our children to trust us. You start and bring it to the mentorship, mentor-mentee relationship. You got to be trustworthy.
Very true. Trustworthy and honest. Wow. These were very good tips. So for the audience, if anyone does have a question, you can will ask our guest at the end. So you mentioned something, Professor, about kind of leads up to the next question about boundary. So how and when can you create like a boundary or like a line, that says, okay, you can't cross this line as a mentor. I can't. How or when can you create this boundary, this line,
Boundaries are
I can say?
created. Boundaries are created from the first day of interaction. First day. First day. If you don't create that boundary from the first day, I'm afraid you might have a lot of hiccups during the process of mentorship. What is it that you like as a mentor? You list all the things you like. What is it that you don't like as a mentor? You list them that you like or you don't like. The mentee has, like I said, this is a personal growth and development relationship thing going on here. You understand? And the mentee also has that particular right, privilege, or whatever you want to call it, to do that which he or she has to do. And once they get to that point, then we about to talk, we are talking something serious. The first day you start that mentor-mentee relationship, you create boundaries. I know because it is not paid, there are lots of fluidity in those things. Oh, I just helping you. I It's helping you. So most times somebody is now holding another person accountable outside of the two persons in the relationship. Except if there is a mentorship program at your work that the job
Mm-hmm.
already has setting guidelines set. If it's a mentorship outside of your work, not in your work, it's almost always good. I always tell people it won't hurt you. And when you say, oh, let's sign a contract, people think you're writing a 20-page and you have to get an attorney involved to write a 20-page document for signature. It can be a 2-page document. It can be 3 information stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just do that which you got to do.
Yeah.
Just do that which you got to do.
Yes.
And once you get that thing done, what it does for you is
Mm-hmm.
that it helps the mentor and helps the mentee to be able to jive and work together.
To the same goal.
You
Okay.
understand the situation because there are responsibilities, and I will discuss briefly the do's and the don'ts. I got a whole list of them here that individuals will do, but first let's deal with your laid out questions. Then we have to look at the do's and the don'ts. What makes a good mentor? What
We
makes
can.
a bad mentee, and the rest of it. And, but you have to begin all of these processes by the first day you sit around the table. Now people are saying like, what we doing? You're way in China. I'm in Minneapolis. It's
Mm-hmm.
7:27 a.m. to me here in Minneapolis. It's 8:27 p.m. to you in China, and we're having this conversation. Whatever means that you will use to have a conversation, you need to write them down. And since it's a Christian organization, they said you have a vision or a plan, write it down and make it plain. You got to write that plan down. It has to be written, and it has to be done the first day or the first set of days because maybe the first day is just introduction.
Have the boundaries. Okay. I think that just makes the whole process. Okay. So I think you also kind of touched the next question. So if I may do ask you to share that you have prepared for the crowd.
No, I mean basically, what I like to do is that people need to understand that mentoring and mentorship are two different things. And, most times we say, "Oh, what's meant?" Most times we interchangeably use them, mentorship and mentoring. No, they're not. They're two different things.
Oh, okay.
Mentorship, mentorship is an act.
Okay.
It's the act of doing something.
You're. Mm-hmm.
And mentorship, I like to equate it to the mentor plus the relationship equals
Oh.
mentorship.
Mm. Mentor plus
It's an act of
relationship.
doing
Okay.
things. So the mentor plus the relationship equals mentorship. Mentoring, on the other hand, is the process of doing that thing. So you guys can sign a doc, you guys can sign an agreement. You guys can say these are the processes we're going through. That's the act of what we want to do. There have to be a mentor, there have to be a mentee, and there have to be a relationship before you can have mentorship going on.
That's
If one of those variables is pulled out of the process, then you don't have the relationship.
okay.
So at least
Mm.
there should be 3 variables in that whole mentorship structure:
Hmm.
the mentee, the mentor, and the relationship.
Okay. Noted.
Mentoring is, like I said, process. So it's like the rubber hitting the road. Let's walk down this journey. That mentorship is walking down the journey, the act of walking down the journey. Mentoring is the real physical doing of the walking down the road.
So, okay. What's actually
For
happening?
Yeah. So in that process, there are do's and don'ts for mentors and mentees. Because it's a relationship, it's not one-sided. It's a
Mm-hmm.
two-way lane. You have to be a two-way lane. You give, you get, you give, you get, you give, you get, you give, you get. And I like it to be as simple as just living your life. Mentorship is
Mm.
like breathing. You medical doctors.
Without even knowing it.
Yeah, without knowing it. If a guy doesn't breathe in air, I mean, if he doesn't take in what? It's oxygen you take in. If he
Uh,
doesn't take in oxygen, he cannot give a carbon dioxide.
true.
So, but it's simple. You don't need to practice to breathe, except you're in
Learn.
a except you're in a medical situation, medically challenged situation. We who are normal, and I put normal in quote, we don't need to practice to breathe. Since you and I have been talking for the last 30 minutes, I have breathed in and taken out air multiple times. That's just a relationship. Once you
Yeah,
decide
that,
to build that mentorship, mentee mentor relationship, is that you guys are working. It's a work in process. It's like a machine, a well-run
okay.
uh, machine. And those who are
That's
working,
true.
who are machinists know that when you see like the car, when you start the car, there's certain things in the engine that got to be moving. That's just the relationship. So, like I said, there are
Mhm.
do's for mentors, there are don'ts for mentors. Going back to some of the things we had discussed previously, a good mentor will listen.
For sure.
And listening is not just sitting there and being quiet. Listening is being attentive. Listening is giving yourself in.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
We have three major components of our body that are used for communication: the ears and the mouth. Even the eyes are used for the communication, but let me use the ears and the mouth analogy a little bit. We have two ears. The God who made us is not confused, and two is more than one. We have two ears and we have one mouth. So it means that the mouth is less than the ears, right? One versus two, right? If we get using that analogy, and the mathematicians will help me, one versus two, using the baseline of 10, two is
Yeah.
more than one, right? Right?
Hmm. Correct.
One of the challenges we have in life and mentorship, it comes into mentorship too, is that we don't allow the bigger number to take over the discussion.
Okay.
We talk
Another
every time
reason.
you talk, the ear closes. You're not listening to the other person across the table. And the mouth is one. To build a relationship and make it stronger, if the mouth could just remain quiet a little bit for the ear to listen a lot, it'll be better.
It would be there, yeah.
So a mentor must be a good listener. Always. A mentor must constructively criticize the mentee. I like to use
Constructive.
I like to use the word must critique the mentee constructively. Because criticism, a lot of people you work with, and then I go into mental health, and some of the reasons why we have some challenges in relationship building is that a lot of people have been negatively criticized all of their lives up to becoming
True.
adults. So when you build a relationship with them in the mentorship, in the mentee mentor relationship thing, when you build it with them, and then you take a criticism, especially negative criticism, into the conversation, it makes them to just shut up, shut you out, and they just do it because hey, I just need to sign up onto this thing because I need it. So you
Yeah.
must be a constructive criticizer of the individual. A good mentor is to support and facilitate.
Mm.
You understand? You must provide
Mm-hmm.
networking experiences. You must share some knowledge of the system. for instance, you work in a hospital and a young man or young lady or a non-binary individual start to work with you,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't know their way around, physically don't know their way around, or don't know where to
Yeah.
go and pull information, the rest of it. A good mentor will help facilitate and support the individual. A good
True.
mentor
There's
should a good mentor should teach by example.
mm,
That's why we come with the word role model.
yeah, actually.
You cannot be asking your mentee to put in 8 hours when you're putting in 4 hours.
What you practice what you preach.
Yeah. Don't do as I don't do don't say what you want the guy to do. Do what you want him to do.
But you're not. Okay. Teach by
Yeah.
example. Is it
10% of the communication that goes out across to the other individual is not said, is done. So a good mentor
action?
should be, yeah, it's action. A good mentor should be an example, should set an example. A good mentor should encourage, motivate. One of the most significant relationship thing is that a good mentor should promote independence.
Oh.
Don't make your mentee to be dependent on you.
All the
Hey,
time. Okay.
excuse me, man. What's going on? What this? You say, okay, hold on. Sit right here. Then you run in the office, open up or something. Send them to the office, to the cabinet. You are medical doctors, for instance, and tell them to bring whatever equipment you want to use and the rest of it. Let them. That's just an example I'm using. Let them be able to touch it. They might come the first time and make mistake, or they might walk in there, they don't even see it.
True.
But your job is to be supportive and to facilitate that they get to this point. So you have to promote independence. You must promote, a good mentor can promote balance.
Mm.
Life is not just work.
So much more to it.
Yeah, you got to promote balance so that this individual should be wanting to come the next day. But if you take them, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, nowadays everybody is using smartphone. This is a smartphone. I just got to cover that. Everybody is using smartphone. And you have
Yeah.
a mentee who
Yeah.
works with you. I'm not saying when somebody abuses the privilege you give them, and that's why in building that relationship from the get-go, the contract that you sign, you state all of these things.
State
Be
all
able
the.
to give your mentee some time within the 8 hours or whatever time frame you got, so that they can grow personally.
Okay, on their own. Oh, okay. They're
Yeah.
in.
And one of the most significant, and I got a couple of individuals who have done this to me personally. Um, a good mentor should take pride in the success of their mentees.
Hmm,
Be
okay.
walking with
This is
with with a chip on your shoulder because your mentee is successful. Nobody is successful except your successor is successful.
that's true.
So your mentee should not be your competition.
Okay, that's it. Shouldn't that should not be your goal.
No, your mentee should not be your competition. Your mentee should be an addition to your success story.
An addition
Take
to your
pride
success.
in the success of your mentees. Walk around, tell other people, not in the braggadocious manner,
Mm-hmm.
not in a boastful manner, but tell other people,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Dr. Victoria over there and myself work together. One of the ways to take pride is to say we work together. Don't say, oh, I train her.
Yeah,
As,
your success.
and, "Ah, don't mind her. She just doing all of these things. She acting like she's eight. It wasn't, if it wasn't, no, you're not taking pride, you're attacking her person. You're attacking his person. You're attacking
Yeah.
their person. You have to address that relationship in the form that you will be meek, but you're proud that they're successful. Those are just some of the
Humble.
do's. And I know we're running out. Let me run quick. Some of the things that mentors should do: don't protect them from experiences. Don't protect your mentee from
Good and
experiences. They have to make mistakes. You made mistakes yourself. It does not mean you will throw them to the wolves.
mhm.
It means that you are giving them an opportunity so that they can assume some of the role of problem solving. Don't be problem
Okay. So
solver
they
for them. Otherwise, they don't need you as a mentor. They will go and do it themselves. This is not Home Depot where you do it yourself mentality kind of
DIY.
thing. Yeah, that you can do it yourself. No,
Yeah.
mentorship is about collaboration. As a mentor, don't
Together.
protect the mentee from their own experiences. Once they learn it through their experiences, and it could be, I always say failures. I mean, when you don't get something, it's not failure, it's just like something you didn't grab at the first time. The most successful individuals did not become successful in whatever they're doing today because they got it the first time.
Nope. Because they
A
got
good mentor should not take over.
take over.
Yeah, because most times you try to talk to your mentee and he doesn't grab it the first time, she doesn't grab it the first
Oh,
time. You don't grab it the first time, you just say,
oh,
okay, you know what happened? Okay, just follow my lead. I'm doing it. No.
okay. I
If you
get
don't
that.
have the time,
Okay.
tell them to go and come back. Every relationship, every time you have an opportunity to be engaged in this mentorship, that's why I said mentorship is defined as, what did I say? Mentor plus relationship equals mentorship. So there has to be a mentor who is in a relationship with somebody who is a mentee right now for you to have a mentorship. If that particular thing you don't think the mentee can handle it, give him or her or them an excuse that day to go and chill. And you can take care of that. Don't force your mentee. Do not attempt to force a mentee in one direction. Everybody has a way of doing things. You're a gynecologist, Dr. Vic.
Yes.
Every gynecologist does not go about practicing the way you practice.
No. Have their own thing. That's for sure.
So you can influence your mentee, you cannot force them. That's why the
Oh,
relationship is not, the relationship is not coaching. And I use football, soccer, we call it in America, as an example. There's a certain coach in Europe, and he's coached football in multiple countries in Europe. He changes the way the team plays. The team could be, and I'm a former sports commentator. I used to do that in the 80s. So,
I.
and, and, but when he becomes coach of a team that used to play entertaining football, and Americans call it
Mhm.
soccer. Once he enters there, he changes their way of play, but that's coaching. He's working within the system. Mentorship is not coaching, I said in the very beginning. Don't force
Don't
people to become what they don't
inf-
want to be. Don't use undue influence. And one of the biggest elephants in the room we don't speak about between mentorship and mentee, in the whole mentorship arrangement, mentors and mentees, is that most times mentors try to use undue influence. If I know as a senior psychotherapist in an entity and I'm providing these services for people, if I know that, for instance, I have outside of professional relationship, I have interest in a personal relationship with a mentee, I start to unduly influence them. That is wrong. It's a
oh,
no-no.
oh,
Yeah. I know our culture, the African culture, in most African cultures, it's not a bad thing for a girl to hang out with a boss. Professionally, it's dead wrong. It's just dead wrong. So don't have undue influence. Do not use a sense of obligation to influence the mentee's professional development. Last one, do not condemn. Are you there? Okay. I presume your phone is frozen from your end. I say see myself. What makes a good mentee? I'll run through this very fast so that we can be able to manage, ask some questions. A good mentee is a person who takes initiatives. He or she or them will make sure that they recognize the need for mentoring and seek it out. A good mentee will avoid perfectionism. Don't your first time you want everything to be perfect. You want it to be perfect. You want it to be perfect. You don't want that. A good mentee will maintain balance. Time for family and friends got to be preserved over time for work. A good mentee must be a hard worker and they are prepared to give their best. As much as you're avoiding professionalism or perfectionism, you must be willing to work hard. And finally, a good mentee must be able to support their peers in whatever job because some mentors have more than one mentee.
Okay, it seems to be like Dr. Vatira is having trouble with our network. Yeah. But thank you for that, Professor
Let me
Cindy.
just go quick with the 3-4 points that a mentee does not do. A mentee does not avoid difficulties.
Okay.
It could be challenges, take it. You're in the process of learning. That's what the relationship is there for. That's why the mentor is there to help you navigate through those things. You should not sidestep work. And it's in connection with the first one. Because the work is so difficult, you're no surgeon or that. And the first time you want to do your first surgery, I know it was cold, but you were sweating. Am I going to open? The thing is that for you to say, damn, so am I going to open somebody's brain? When you think about all of those things, and the brain is the engine. What if I screw up? So that person becomes a vegetable for life. No, don't sidestep it. As much as you're not avoiding difficulties, don't sidestep it. Get in there and rely on this support and significance or significant relationship you build with your mentor. A good mentee does not stay in a comfort zone. You got to step out. So these are all connected. You got to step out. The comfort zone is a place that you already know this thing. But to be called a legend,
we have to step
a legend has to step out.
So in summary, going to the last point, I know you mentioned something about what to do if there is struggle in terms of goal achievement. If you think the relationship is not going the way it should be, I remember you mentioning something about cutting off the relationship. So in your parting statement now, as we close, what will be maybe 1, 2, or 3 tangible reason that a mentor-mentee relationship should come to an end? Like this should not be something we should compromise. What would be maybe 2 or 3 tangible signs that I think this relationship should come to an end?
One of them is that if you have achieved what you plan to do, what you laid out to do in the first instance, that's why you signed it.
If you already achieved,
if you achieve it, no need of prolongation onto something that is already done.
Already done. Okay, great.
It's already done. Thank you. Bye bye. It's we planned this for 3 years. We've done it in 2 years' time. Thank you. Have a handshake, and you move on. The
Yeah,
person move on.
move on. Okay.
That's the
So
first
what
one.
could be another tangible reason? Mm-hmm.
The second tangible reason is that once one of you, either the mentee or the mentor, start to have personal feeling toward the other person,
Okay.
that is
One,
not
there is some
that is not
emotional
professional,
connections.
emotional, personal connection that is not professional. You guys need to address it immediately. If that cannot be resolved, you call up the mentee mentor relationship, and then maybe you can start processing that, or you walk away. You understand? But you cannot mix
Up
personal
to.
relationship with a professional relationship. It's intended for somebody to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and personal emotional relationships most times are
Just
just
damage.
emotional, and they're more different from a professional growth and development.
All right. So what would be the last one if we take that before we can
And
go?
the last one is that, for instance, if I have to move away, if we cannot meet to whatever means, whether we're using the internet service, I'm from Lofa. If I move to Lofa, for instance, and my internet service is not going to be there, and we've agreed that we'll meet once a week, and I'm going to Lofa for 3 months, you can either suspend it until I come back. We can, two of us can either suspend it until I come back, or
We
if
forget
that
it.
relationship will be hindered by us physically not being together, or in
Not
whatever form, shape, or
connecting.
manner, we just cut it off so
Yeah.
that the mentee can now start building on, can start looking for somebody who has the same capacities
Who has
like the
the
former
capacity.
mentor had, or better stay in that process, in the parting or exit process. The mentee and the mentor can say, look, hey, because you're moving out of this place, I got one or two persons, or this is a batch of resources that you can go into and tap on for another mentor, or they can then call somebody who
All
is
right.
their
Thank you
colleague, the
so
mentor,
much.
and do that.
Thank you so much, Professor. And this has been really interesting. I've been following. Can you imagine? You didn't even believe we've gone almost an hour with just
Oh yeah, addressing the time is 52 minutes. Oh,
yeah, but I think the discussion was very interesting and Dr. Victoria couldn't hold on, so you guys kept going. Yeah, but
no,
that's great.
it was her computer. I mean, her system just said, you know what? Let me put her
Yeah.
on a pause a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was great having you, and thank you. Over to you, Victoria. I just jumped in, thank you, to kind of compensate here. So maybe you want to say a parting words as you close over here as the host.
I got disconnected.
That's 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 the magic of technology.
Enjoying the combo, but thank you so much for having this discussion. Oh yeah, it was really fruitful because thank you so much, Professor, and I'm just going to show us our clothes. We log out.